we're going to talk about trademark law.
The joy that it brings to certain
Holding an
clients,
international team of attorneys.
but just doing things in a different way. Most clients are going global, so the more information you can give them as a singular person, the better it is for the client.
Hi, I'm here with Mandy Swart, and tell me about you.
Tell me about me. So I started, I feel like I almost stumbled into intellectual property because it was not something I really knew about when I was studying at university.
Where did you grow up, first of all?
Well, first of all, I'm from South Africa. Grew up in KwaZulu-Natal. It is now called KwaZulu-Natal, and then went to university in Stellenbosch, which is the Western Cape, and one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Oh, nice.
And I immediately I went to university and finished university, immediately went to do my articles, and it was just fortuitous. I had an inkling of what IP law was about.
Yeah.
It didn't work out in my sort of final year to take it as an elective, but I was such a nerd
Yeah.
that I went to the lectures anyway, those that I could.
Yeah.
And I just sort of fell in love with it. I think I always had an interest in advertising and marketing and that sort of thing. In fact, I phoned home after my undergraduate degree and said to my dad, I actually want to go to Red and Yellow, which is an advertising school in South Africa.
Okay. What did you like about it? What did you like about that?
I just like branding and, brands and how they worked as sort of, as we know now, source identifiers. I didn't know what that was then.
Yeah.
And just how people react to them and how marketing can really draw out even an emotional response from somebody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just always had an interest in that, and my father told me in no uncertain terms that I would not be going to Red and Yellow and I would finish my law degree.
Yeah.
And finding out, going to the odd lectures in my final year, was kind of a way to mesh the two. And I really then became quite interested in doing IP law. And
did you work in Cape Town then, or
no? So I went to head office in Pretoria, and again that just worked out because my parents had actually moved from Durban to Pretoria.
Okay, nice.
So it was sort of easy for me to move there because they were there. Wasn't easy to move back home, and I didn't do that because I'd already lived apart from them for 5 years, and you know what it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a Rolling Stone story. I also just realized I needed to do something else, to just experience something else.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to stay in the field of IP.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do it, in a different environment and possibly practice in a different way. And so I made a change, and I think it was a big shock for a lot of people. I think it shocked me too, to some extent. But I'm very happy to be here now at Trademarkia, and it is a very different experience. It's still, it's still IP law, but just doing things in a different way.
Yeah.
And I mean,
How is it different? How is it different, you say? Because there's other people listening to this that are big firm lawyers.
So, we are very tech forward, and I think a lot of law firms aren't. I think there's still a lot of firms that are sort of stuck in doing things in the old-fashioned way, and big law firms, fancy furniture, trying to get people to come in through the front door, and that's just not the way of the world anymore. We need to, fast track being able to be accessible, not in an office, but on a screen, and just being able to interact, I think, globally with attorneys around the world is also very important, so that you've got a greater knowledge of how IP is working in different jurisdictions. So I think most clients are going global, so the more information you can give them, as a singular person, the better it is for the client.
And video conferencing is something new to you, or is that something you've done before?
Well, I mean, obviously COVID made us all do a bit of video conferencing, so it wasn't completely new.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an everyday occurrence, certainly. And now that is an everyday occurrence for me, and I think it's fantastic because what I really enjoy about it is almost the joy that it brings to certain clients. They're so thankful and grateful that you have made this little introductory video or explained an email that you otherwise, they've sent you a whole lot of questions and you answer them as if you are talking to them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can just listen to those responses. And I think a lot of the time as attorneys, when we write, it's sort of legalese and we're quite formal, but we're much better at, talking in layman's terms when we are talking to somebody. And even if you're not face to face with that person and you're doing it on a video, it often just resonates so much better with the client.
Oh, that's so great.
So,
What kind of clients do you work with through Trademark?
so it's very diverse. I've got I manage international clients, but also locally the South African, our new South African website and the South African clients. And they vary, but obviously we are more focused on entrepreneurs and startups and that sort of thing, which I also love. But what's really nice about working with startups and that is that these people they're not desperate for your help, but that they honestly really need that help, and they are so thankful and grateful for that help when you give it to them.
Right.
And it's nice when you grow with a client and they tell you about their dreams and their plans, and then you actually can see it coming to fruition.
That's great. So you work with lots of small businesses.
So small businesses
In South Africa or across Africa?
in South Africa, also across Africa. And obviously I've got an international side, so I'm also working with, European clients or American clients, which is also nice to just mix it up a bit. So it's really when I say it's a mixed bag, I would say that in a good way, because it keeps it interesting and it means that every day is different.
Yeah.
And that's important, I think.
Well, that's great. So you worked in a big firm, you're now in a kind of new way of doing law. So, it's been kind of, what are the top 3 things you'd say to somebody who is graduating law school right now in South Africa? Where's a career headed?
Where's it headed? So I definitely think you've got to be tech forward. So you need to be tech savvy. You need to understand that, it's about accessibility. You don't need to put on airs and graces and necessarily have a fancy firm and that kind of thing. I think that's sort of gone out the window. And I think even the big clients these days they're more interested in you being accessible and being able to, communicate on a screen, have, a conversation with them about a pertinent topic or a matter that's come up. And that I think accessibility is a major thing. So the more au fait you are with tech, being video first, all that kind of thing, I think the better off you'd be.
And what else? What else?
Look, I mean, for a lot of people, obviously, I think you've got to decide. I think as a new graduate, maybe working from home is not an important thing to you. It became important to me, especially when I, had a family and that sort of thing. I think there are the pros and cons to, being only remote working. But I do think that in the long run, I think it's just so much better. You don't waste time in traffic. You still can communicate. Everybody always says, oh, but you lose that, rapport that you have with your peers and your colleagues and that kind of thing. But I don't think that's true because, when you're I see JJ and Stefan's every day on screen, and we actually live quite close to each other. But we see each other, we make an effort to, or it just happens that we want to bounce things off each other or whatever. And you actually you still have that relationship.
Yeah.
We make an effort to see each other once a month and that kind of thing.
And now you're here in San Diego now. So you're seeing how often do you interact with the global Trademarkia team?
So that's also actually far more regularly than I had anticipated.
Yeah.
Because we get paired with a US attorney, for instance, and you build a relationship with them because you don't know all the answers, and sometimes your clients are they're inquisitive and they want to know certain things. So you find that you need a lot of interaction with that US attorney that you paired with, and you're not giving advice, but you just want to know the sort of bare minimums so that you can guide the client as to what to expect and when to expect it.
That's great.
So
what is this new freelance program that Trademarkia has?
So it's a great program. It's allowing, well, from a Trademarkia side, it's allowing us to build a true global footprint. I think a lot of firms these days indicate that they have a global footprint, but a lot of it is working through agents and, that sort of thing. We are approaching people to become freelance attorneys and actually become part of the Trademarkia network. So you're actually part of Trademarkia. You can remain your own entity, whether you're a sole practitioner or in a small firm or whatever it might be. But you join this global network, and it is a true global network because we really want a footprint throughout the world, where we're not referring matters to agents, but actually people that, freelance attorneys who we know and who we've worked with and who we have we have a relationship with. And it's a fantastic, as a startup attorney, I think it really takes a load off having to know how to market yourself, because we are setting up localized websites and, doing advertising to generate leads. So it takes that pressure off a first-time attorney, in not having to worry about that, actually get some feet through the door, helps you build your reputation. Because obviously there's always going to be referral work, but when you have no basis to be referred to, that's not going to help you. So this program where we ask, where we're onboarding freelance attorneys, is fantastic for the smaller firms and sole practitioners who are just starting out.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Mandy. Appreciate your time. Yeah.
Thanks, Ron. It was lovely. Thanks.
Protect your brand with Trademarkia. Register your trademark on trademarkia.com.